Greetings and salutations, beautiful people in the beautiful world. It is me. He is I am him. Zach Latimer, Z-Lat, and welcome back to another segment of Right and Exact. Shots out to a new nation and a shot out to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. You could be doing a ton of other things right now, but you are here with me, and I do appreciate that. Today, what I want to talk about and build on is self-esteem, okay? Self-esteem, and this can become tricky because a lot of times self-esteem becomes synonymous with self-worth. And when it becomes synonymous with self-worth, it can throw you off all into a loop tailspin that is hard to recover from. So it is incumbent upon one to differentiate the two and then use them accordingly. All right. So when we look at it, self-worth, for instance, just is basically what something is worth. And what something is worth to you may be a bit different than what something is worth to me. And this all really comes down to the value that you place on something. And this is all under the umbrella of a cultural umbrella. Okay, it's a cultural stance that one takes. So whatever your cultural stance is, that will be the value that you start to place on something. So for instance, one may say, I know my worth, I know my value, I know what I'm bringing to the table because I have A, B, C, D, which typically is nothing to do with their self-worth. But at any rate, let's just say I have a lot of money in the bank. I have a lot of notoriety, so therefore I know my worth because I bring all of this to the table. Now, if you are sitting on the opposite side of this cultural stance, and you might look at it and say, you know what, I don't really constitute having net worth with self-worth. And as a matter of fact, as I look at it, that I know anything that can be purchased is essentially worthless. So I'm really just gauging at, are you moving, living, and walking in said purpose, right? So, one may be, one may not be, but that depends on how they gauge what value they have with their self-worth. Now, here's what self-worth is kind of along the lines of motivation, right? It's a shot of fantasy. It's a shot that you would give somebody. So, this is where it can kind of get tricky. The fantasy starts to bleed in when parents, a lot of times, start to have a fantasy about their child, saying that you can either playing sports and they show up to their practice and they're getting on their coach saying, why isn't my child doing this? And you're a whole lot better than this, and you should be starting, and you should be playing quarterback, or you should be the point, or I don't know, whatever it is. You should be the best person on the team. Now, this is a fantasy that you may be feeding your child because your child may not just be that nice. Like, he's not that good, right? Or she's not that good. Well, same thing happens in a fantasy that you give somebody in dating, and they're like, you should be doing so much better than this person that you're dating. You should be dating I don't know, engineer or whatever. But at the end of the day, is your daughter or son engineer material for somebody to date? See, this is what happens when you start to give somebody a false sense of self-worth. Then they stop moving into the doing of what they should be doing and building themselves up to be better. So when they feel like, okay, I'm already where I need to be, then they stop working towards said goals. That is where self-esteem comes in. Self-esteem comes in the completion of activities. Self-esteem is doing activities and then finishing the objective. That's when one starts to build their self-esteem. So it's just like if you have a child and you give a child a task, let's say just to climb a tree. You go climb that tree over there, and they might have this fear in their head of everything. They might start adding up what can go wrong, and all of this can happen or all of that can happen. But then after they get up there, and then they might have a fear of jumping down. You're like, man, nah, man, you could fly. You're like Superman. And you give them a shot of that fantasy. You give them a shot of some self-worth to build their self-worth in that moment, so then that they can jump down. And then you say, look, man, you did it. You did it all by yourself. And then they're like, yeah, I did do it. I did do that all by myself. I did complete that action. And in completing that action builds their self-esteem. Okay, just like if you're tying a shoe or if you're doing anything else that comes in you doing an activity When you complete the activity, you always feel better about yourself. It always gives you a sense of stronger value and self-worth, but that self-worth is the shot of motivation that maybe one would come along to give you while you're moving to said completion of activity. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people say some people are damaging my self-esteem. And nobody can damage your self-esteem. I want you to understand that, and I want you to get that in your head. Nobody can damage your self-esteem. The only way that somebody can somewhat hinder your self-esteem is by stopping you. And even if they stopped you, that's nothing but a blockage in your life for you to figure out another way to get around it. And then once you get around it, again, that boosts your self-esteem. So nobody can stop you. Nobody can slow you. They can try to slow you down. And just know that it doesn't matter how fast you're moving, doesn't matter how slow you're moving, as long as you're getting and completing said objectives and you're accomplishing what you set out to do, then you're starting to build that self-esteem. And if you need a shot of self-worth while you're getting along to get that done, take a shot, but then you keep on moving. It all comes in the doing. So what are you doing? You keep going, you keep moving, and keep accomplishing and keep building this self-esteem. If you want to get deeper into this, you can go to Enlightenment Transformation, but I will that you got something out of this. I will that you have a wonderful day. If you want to holler at me, you can catch me on Instagram, straight flexing, Zach Latimer, ZACHLATIMER, and we can chop it up. Let's get busy, huh? Build that self-esteem. Lego. Peace.